What's up, Steelers Nation? You know the deal. This team is doing everything it can to get better every single day. Every move, every OTA, every rumor swirling around is about one thing: chasing greatness and bringing another Lombardi back to the Burgh. And with that mission, things are starting to get really interesting at quarterback. So before we get deep into this conversation, because trust me, this one is juicy, go ahead and smash that like button to support the channel. It helps a ton. And if you love Steelers football, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Mason Rudolph and Aaron Rodgers. Let's start here. Mason Rudolph is still your projected starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers as we speak today. That could all change with one signature. One signature from Aaron Rodgers. And you better believe Mason Rudolph knows it. But instead of ducking the media or playing it cool, Rudolph stepped up and addressed the situation head-on. On the Caboli and Mac podcast, he opened up about his relationship with Rodgers and the mindset he's bringing into this offseason. And surprisingly, it's all love, at least for now. Here's what Rudolph had to say about his first-ever interaction with Rodgers all the way back in a preseason game in 2018. I had a rough early outing, and Rodgers came over and said hello and offered some words of encouragement and motivated me to keep working hard. It doesn't happen a lot. He went out of his way to say hello to me, and that was awesome. Classy move from Rodgers, no doubt. But let's be real here. That was 6 years ago, when they weren't competing for the same job. Things could feel a whole lot different if Rodgers steps into that QB1 spot. And Mason Rudolph, he's aware of that too. Here's the quote from Mason that every Steelers fan needs to hear. When asked about his outlook with Rodgers looming in the shadows, he said, "I learned a long time ago that the financial compensation will tell you what's going to go down in terms of the depth chart. I get it. All I can do is keep having a good spring and make the most of every rep. That's what I've done my whole career." He added, "I assumed they were going to sign people and add to the roster because they always go to training camp with 4 quarterbacks. I knew that going in." Translation: Rudolph knows the drill. He's not going to cry about it. He's going to compete, rep by rep, snap by snap, because that's all he's ever done in Pittsburgh. Let's not forget, this is a guy who knows the playbook, knows the locker room, and has kept his head down despite all the criticism, the benchings, and the doubters. Whether you believe he's the long-term answer or not, you've got to respect the professionalism. Now here's where things get spicy, because we are T- days away from OTAs, and there's still no ink on paper from Aaron Rodgers. But according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Steelers remain confident that Rodgers will be on the roster before organized team activities start on May 27th. "People I've checked with say the Steelers remain optimistic here," Fowler said on SportsCenter. "They have been in touch with Aaron Rodgers, but there's still no hard and fast update. And we get it. Rodgers told the Pat McAfee show back in April that he was dealing with some personal matters. Ian O'Connor, Rodgers' biographer, even confirmed those inner circle issues aren't expected to stop him from showing up by mandatory minicamp on June 10th. But let's be honest here. The longer this drags out, the more uncomfortable it gets, especially for Mason Rudolph, who's quietly been working like he is the starter. Let's not forget what happened with the Jets. Rodgers skipped mandatory minicamp last year to vacation in Egypt. He hasn't played a full NFL season since 2021, and he's never played a snap in Arthur Smith's offense, an offense that's already built on discipline, timing, and chemistry. Multiple insiders believe Rodgers is just avoiding the voluntary workouts because he doesn't like the grind. But man, if you're trying to take over a new team with a new coordinator and lead them to a playoff run, you've got to be in the building. Head coach Mike Tomlin and the front office have been very respectful of Rodgers' space. But you better believe they're expecting him in uniform by June 10th, or this whole offseason plan could unravel. Here's the wild card. If Rodgers backs out or delays too long, the Steelers are basically handing the offense over to Mason. Rudolph and Steelers Nation will be divided. A big chunk of the fan base would actually be fine with that. Rudolph fits the scheme better. He won't call audibles on every snap. He'll let Arthur Smith run his run-heavy play-action system. He's also younger, cheaper, and drama-free. But others are tired of waiting for Mason to take the next step. They want a proven winner. And say what you will about Aaron Rodgers, he's still Aaron Rodgers, a Super Bowl MVP, one of the best arms in football history. So it all comes down to one decision. Rodgers signs and takes over. This team instantly becomes a playoff contender. He hesitates or walks away. The Steelers roll with Mason and see if lightning can strike one more time. Now look, nobody's denying that George Pickens is talented. The guy has highlight reel catches, elite athleticism, and the kind of raw skill you don't teach. But let's be honest, the signs were there. From sideline tantrums to cryptic social media posts, you could tell something wasn't right. And now, we're learning just how deep the issues went. Mark Kaboly, one of the most connected Steelers, insiders in the game, just went on 93.7 The Fan and dropped a bombshell about Pickens and how his own teammates felt about him. Kaboly said, "There's a lot of guys in that defense, even the offense. There were probably a couple of guys that you would be shocked at that I did hear after the fact. They were pretty much saying, 'See ya.' They didn't want anything to do with him. Let that sink in. Not just a couple guys grumbling behind the scenes. Not just rookies or fringe players. We're talking key names, some of the veteran leaders of this team, who were ready to wash their hands of George Pickens entirely. Why the locker room turned on Pickens? So what happened? Why would some of Pickens' own teammates want him? Out of the building? According to multiple sources, this wasn't a legal issue or some off-the-field drama. It was about maturity, effort, and accountability. Pickens reportedly had a pattern of being late to meetings, showing up with poor body language, giving inconsistent effort at practice, and even worse, in games. That's the kind of thing that drives real leaders. Guys like Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and TJ Watt, absolutely crazy. Let's be real here. Those veterans are the definition of professionalism. They grind on every snap. They lead by example. And they expect everyone around them to bring the same intensity. Now imagine being in that locker room, watching George Pickens jog through reps or sulk after not getting the ball. That's not just frustrating. It's corrosive. It sends the wrong message to the entire team. Kaboly put it perfectly. I think it needed to be done. I think it was getting really ugly behind the scenes there. And I think some of the players of veteran leadership weren't too thrilled with George. And here's the scary part. We don't even know the half of it. Kaboly continued. If you're hearing Pickens' antics that people are saying, imagine the stuff that you're not hearing. I think there's a lot of stuff that we still don't. No. After all this went through, saying, oh, geez, if you would have known this, the trade would have made a ton of sense. That's a huge statement. Because it tells us that the Steelers didn't trade Pickens just because they got a good offer. They traded him because the culture couldn't survive another season of his antics. A wake-up call for George Pickens. Let's flip it for a second. Maybe this is the reset George Pickens needs. He's now with the Dallas Cowboys, a team known for giving second chances, but also for chewing up guys who don't adjust fast enough. If Pickens brings the same attitude to Dallas, it won't take long for that locker room and media to turn on him too. But if he matures, if he truly gets it, he has a chance to become a dominant force in this league. Because the talent is undeniable. It's the consistency and leadership that have to catch up. And hey, from a Steelers perspective, it's no longer our problem. Omar Khan made a tough call, but a necessary one. The front office has made it clear that this team is prioritizing locker room unity, effort, and character. And if someone, no matter how gifted, threatens that culture, they're gone. So, here we are. Steelers fans, OTAs start May 27th. Mandatory minicamp is June 10th. We are staring down a quarterback showdown unlike anything we've seen in years. Mason Rudolph has made it clear. He's not going to roll over. He respects Rodgers, but if Rodgers isn't going to commit, then Rudolph is going to keep pushing like he's the guy. Rodgers, he's still in the wind, but insiders believe he'll sign, and soon. So here's the question for you, Steelers Nation. Should the Steelers commit to Mason Rudolph and let this team build around his chemistry with Arthur Smith? Or should they go all in on Aaron Rodgers, knowing the risk, the drama, and the reward? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like button and subscribe for more exclusive Steelers coverage, rumors, and real talk from the heart of Pittsburgh. Until next time, here we go, Steelers. Let's get it done.